Hello all, and welcome to the first ever Unison EDU live webinar. I am Patrick Hausman, found at PHUSEDU on Twitter, and I am the founder and executive director of Unison EDU, a nonprofit founded to provide world-class support to all educators in need. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Darcy, one of our amazing team members who has a great presentation for you on Canvas and the new Google assignments. Darcy, take it away. Who has a great presentation for you on Canvas and the new Google assignments. Darcy, take it away.
All right, thanks, Patrick. I want to make sure that you can hear me first, because I know on my side I couldn't hear you. So on my second device, I can hear you over on the other side. So I just want to make sure everybody's hearing me first before we get started. Okay, so I think we're okay. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen then, so we can go ahead and get started with the session. All right, so today I'm going to talk to you about Canvas and the new Google assignments. I'm really excited to share this with you. I am a huge Google user and also a big Canvas user. My school district has used Canvas for 7 years, so I'm very well versed in it and very excited about this new tool. If you are not familiar with this, Google Assignments takes the best part out of Google Classroom, the assignments and the grading part, and merges it with Canvas, and also allows you to give your students automatic individual copies of different Google Docs and different assignments. If you are a veteran Canvas user, this is going to replace the Google Docs Cloud assignment. That's also the LTI 1.1. So you'll hear me refer to it as either Google Docs Cloud assignment or 1.1, and it's coming in with the new LTI 1.3. So we skipped over 1.2 for some reason. And this will go away from Canvas in September of 2021, but some school districts are electing to jump into this early. My school district is one of them, and so yours might be as well. If you are a former Google Classroom user, this is going to be very familiar for you. So a little bit about myself before I get any further. My name is Darcy Priester, and I'm the Instructional Technology Resource Teacher at Manassas Park High School with Manassas Park City Schools. I am also a Google for Education certified educator and certified trainer. And you can meet me at Twitter or Instagram. I also have a YouTube channel where I do a lot of different videos and a blog as well. And all of the resources that I'm going to show you today in this session is coming from Wakelet. So I'm also a Wakelet ambassador. If you want to have the slides from this presentation, you can grab this link down here, bit.ly/assign Canvas, and it is case sensitive, so make sure the C in Canvas is uppercase. All right, so let's jump in. So in today's session, we're going to look at how you can create assignments using this new integration into Canvas, how you can add rubrics to those assignments, how students can view those assignments and submit them, and how you will grade them and give students feedback, and then how the students can view that feedback. All right, so this integration is actually 3 tools in one. The first one is more for students and how they can submit a Google Doc in a regular Google or a regular Canvas assignment. Get myself confused between the Google and the Canvas. So that's just the regular Canvas assignment, and how they can submit an assignment just like the website URL or a file upload. So I'll go into more detail into that in a minute. The next one is for instructors and how students can view a show or a Google document instead of interacting with it how they can view it and get information from you. And the third way is the one that probably all of you want to hear about, that Google assignment and how you create it and how students can get the copy of the assignment. So I'm going to jump over to Canvas so that we can talk about those three ways. So this first way, again, is how students can interact with the assignment itself. So let's say I've got my one assignment here already and students want to submit it. So they have these different tabs at the top. They can do a file upload. They could do a text entry. They can also have the Google Drive tab. Now, that's always the goal. The old Google Docs Cloud assignment, you had this tab, but this is an updated tab and an updated way for students to submit those assignments. If students had not already, like this student is already in their Google account, they would need to log in, and then they're going to select the file, choose the assignment. They can look at the recent, or they could look at My Drive and search for that file, but my file is right here. So we're going to go ahead and add it and then click attach. And the student can add any additional comments for that assignment if they need to, and then click submit assignment. And then that assignment will be in for you to grade in SpeedGrader, just like you normally would in Canvas. So the other way is for teachers. And again, this is how you could just have something embedded in an assignment, a Canvas page, a discussion for students to view, but not necessarily interact with. So here I've got some instructional notes and I want to add a Google slideshow to an assignment for students to look at before they do the assignment. So I'm going to go ahead and edit this assignment. And in my Canvas toolbar, I'm going to click on the external app icon. And when I click on that, I see Google Drive LTI 1.3 is one of my options. So I'll click on that, and I want to find the slideshow that I want to add in. So I'm going to hit select. And again, if I had not been logged in, I would need to log into my Google account. And then here's the file that I want. So I'm just going to select that and hit add and attach it. And then it drops right into that rich text editor. So students would be able to go through and look at the information. They wouldn't actually be able to click on this. So if I hit save and publish here for a second, so we see it in the real view, students could go from slide to slide, but they wouldn't be able to click into the PowerPoint or add information into that PowerPoint. That's going to be our next step. So before I move on, I know that's kind of a lot of information, so I want to stop before I jump into the main event that will have several other steps, and check in with Patrick and see if anybody has any questions so far. I think we're good to go, maybe? Okay, so I'll go ahead and jump into this next part, which is where we're actually going to add in this Google assignment and have a brand new interface within Canvas to look at. All right, so I already created an assignment in Canvas, and all I did was just create the assignment. I need to go in and actually edit and add some more information in for this assignment for my students. So in this rich content editor, I could add instructions. I could still go through the Google Drive external app and add in a slideshow that maybe I want them to view before they do the assignment. And then I'm going to fill out my assignment the way I normally would. I will give points and due dates. So I'm going to do that ahead of time real quick. I can choose available from, but here's the really big important part that you need to know. The submission type is where we're going to change this to an external tool and grab our new Google Assignments interface. So when I click on external tool, I'm going to click on find, and I'm going to go look for the Google Assignments LTI 1.3. So this is the one that I want. Your school system may have both still turned on, so you may see the Google Docs Cloud assignment and this new one, or you may still be using the old version. So then I'm going to sign in to my account. And you'll see that this is a brand new interface. I've now kind of left that Canvas look and feel, and I've jumped into Google. So there's a few things that I can do at this point. You'll see that there is a plagiarism or originality report. I can turn this on, and it's going to tell me that in the free version, which is what my school district is using, we don't have the enterprise version. We can do this with 5 different assignments per course. So if you have several courses, you'll get 5 instances of this. If you only have one course, and maybe your Canvas courses are cross-listed, you'll only get those 5 reports on here. So I'm just going to go ahead and click continue for a second. We'll jump back into that when we actually have something submitted. And then I'm going to be able to attach my files, the files that maybe I want students to be able to work on. Now, I don't have to necessarily add a Google document. I could just leave this alone, and on the student side, students can have a prior document that they were working on and upload it, or they could create a new one right on their side. So I'll show you that in a minute. But in this case, I do want to attach a file so that you can see what that's going to look like and how students will interact with that. So I'll click on attach, and I'm going to go find my assignment. So here I've got this one. I'm going to click add, and I can see that each student is going to get their own copy of this, and they will become the owner of that document. And that's important to know. We're going to come back to that in a minute. Now, my total points and my due date, I want to make sure that this matches what I put in Canvas on that Canvas side of the interface. So I think I did 50 points for that one. And then my due date I put for tomorrow. And I can also add a rubric. So for right now, I'm going to reuse a rubric that I already had just so I can show you what that kind of looks like. And then we'll come back and I'll show you how to create a rubric. So you can put rubrics into this system and reuse them for several different assignments. You can also import from Sheets. I know my screen's a little small here that you can barely see that part, but it does say import from Sheets. And this is where if you have a rubric in another course or a teacher creates a rubric and wants to share it with you, you can export it to Google Sheets and then re-import it into another course using Google Sheets. So for right now, I'm just going to reuse a rubric I've already created. It will give me a list. Right now, I only have one rubric in here, so I'm going to select that rubric to add to this assignment for grading. And if I click on it, it lets me preview that rubric. You can also go in and edit from that point if you need to change anything on that rubric. And then we're going to go ahead and create. And I'll click select. And now everything is set up in my assignment. And so I'm going to hit save and publish. And once again, this is going to look a little different in Canvas. This is going to give me a Google interface. It's going to let me see the assignment and all of the information that I have with it. And this is also where students are going to submit, or where I'm going to see those student submissions come in and where I see how many I have graded and returned back to students. So I know that was a lot. So I want to check in again and see if anybody has any questions. I do see something about enterprise. So I do want to mention that originality report. If your school district has enterprise, you have unlimited amount of originality reports that you can use with your courses. So that's available as well.
Darcy, can you hear me okay?
Okay, I don't know if we have any other questions right now, so I'm going to go ahead and move on. And so I want to show you what the student side is going to look like now. So let me go to that assignment that I just created. So students would click on it, and it's going to open up again in a Google interface. When my internet decides to join us, it'll open up in that interface for us. There we go. Okay, so this is going to look very different for students. They'll be able to see the name of the assignment, the points, and the due date all right at the top. And then they can also see the rubric. So if they wanted to go through and know ahead of time what those expectations are for the assignment, they can see that. And then they see open to attach and a file right here. So I want to explain the difference between these two items. You will see in some of the directions, the resources that I have shared out later. This button, I think, just changed today, because when I was doing directions yesterday, this said open assignment, not open to attach and submit. So I will eventually be able to update my directions, but for right now, they're still going to say open assignment. So students could get to the assignment in either way. However, there's a difference here. So if they click on files right here, they can go in, add anything to this Google slideshow that they want. So down at the bottom here, they're going to go through all of this information and then create their own. So they would be able to own their add their own to this. But then when they close out of it, they still have to submit it somewhere. So they're in this interface. It just gives them a chance to see it. They could edit and add things in here. But what I tell our teachers, and what I would like to see teachers be able to kind of more train students into getting used to, is clicking this blue button, because when this opens up, they're going to be able to click on the assignment from here and submit it all at one time. So I think this is the easier way to have students go in and just know to click on that blue button and then come in, open up the document, complete anything that they need to do with that assignment. And when they close it, then they can just hit submit. So I also mentioned earlier that you wouldn't necessarily have to add in a file to the Google assignment. We could have just had this left blank and not added kind of like a template for students to go into and submit for their assignment. They could add their own files, and they could add additional files. So maybe you do have a template for students to fill out, but then you also have some items that students need to add. So I can go in and add another file. So I'm just going to pick this one and click add. And it's also going to attach that with it as well. And now you can see that originality report is also jumping in. So students can also run the originality report on their side as well. So they also get 5 if you're in the free version. So if we just, or I'm sorry, students can run 3. That's right. So we're just going to go ahead and run it. So students would be able to see what this would look like. And so now it's going to pull it up. I don't really have anything in there, although it does flag something. So you can see what it's flagged, and then go in and see the web matches and see. So yes, I did grab a little bit of that from another website when I first did that. So that was on my side, not the student side. And so they can run that and see if there's something that's getting flagged that they may need to change before they submit it. Students can also create their own Google files right from here. So if they're creating something brand new, they can create that from this submission point as well. So I've got both of these ready to go. And so I can now submit as a student for the teacher to now go ahead and grade it. So I do want to, if I click submit, I do want to point out this unsubmit button that we're going to see here in just a second. So when students submit their assignment, their Google Docs, now whatever Google document they're using, is now going to become locked, and they're not going to be able to edit this document. If they need to make a change, they have to click unsubmit. So this is really kind of a cool feature for how this works. So when you first create that Google document and send it to students as you create that assignment, students become the owner of that document. When they submit it, the transfer of the rights of the editing of that file now go to the teacher so that you can go in, give feedback, and give other comments to students. And then when you return it to them after it's graded, the rights go back to students. So that's really kind of a cool feature. So I'm just going to click unsubmit for a second so that you can see what this looks like. So if a student needed to go in and change something, they can unsubmit, go into the document again, change anything within the document, and then go back and submit once they've made those changes. Now they can only do this before you've actually graded it. So if they've turned it in and realized 2 hours later, oh, I forgot to add something in there, they could go and unsubmit it, add it in before you ever have seen it on the teacher side. So that's all set, ready to go. So students have submitted it. So now we're going to go back and look at this on the teacher side. So if I refresh my window, I'm going to see that a student has submitted this assignment. And I can see that there was an originality report and that something was flagged within that submittal. And I can see the student has, I can see who and when they've actually submitted it. So when I go into this assignment, I can actually preview what this assignment looked like. So if you are a veteran Canvas user, this is going to be a little different because it doesn't integrate with SpeedGrader yet. Canvas and Google have said that this integration with SpeedGrader is coming next month in October. So I'll be very interested to see what that's going to look like and how this is going to work with SpeedGrader. If you've used Google Classroom, this is very similar to how this is laid out in Google Classroom when students submit their assignments. So you'll actually be able to go through the assignment, see all of the different parts and what students have added to it. You can leave comments. Find my comment button. You can also add things to it. You can also be in suggesting mode when you're viewing the assignment. So if you see something that's grammar or another issue, maybe students don't have something that's working correctly, you can go in and actually add that in. All right, so I'm going to pause here for a second because I see that we have a few questions. All right, so
Can you hear me,
let's
Darcy?
see. All right, so we'll come back to that in just a minute then. Okay, so we can add comments in for students. So if I'm going to add a comment, some feedback for that student, I can add that here, or I also have a comment bank. So I can add different comments in here. I can continue to add and add more comments into my bank. And it'll allow me to copy it and paste it right into that preview of the student work. If there's a rubric attached, I can also click on the different elements of that rubric to give students the score. And it will add it up for me as well. And then I can also give overall feedback down here at the bottom for that assignment. And then I can hit return and send it back to the student. All right, so then back on the student side, they're going to see that there was a comment. So they'll see their grade. They'll see that there was a comment. So they could go back in and see what exactly you've put in as a comment for them. So here they can view it. And then they can also look at the rubric and see what exactly you pinpointed on that rubric for them for feedback. And then they can also resubmit if you're looking for them to resubmit that as well. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing for a minute because I know we have a few questions. So I'm going to go back and hit those questions.
And Darcy, can you hear me now?
So, and I think Patrick and I are not able to hear each other for some strange reason. So Patrick, I'm going to jump into YouTube real quick and see if I can hear you over here. Okay, so Patrick, I've got YouTube open now, and maybe I can hear you. Canvas and the new Google assignment.
Yeah, I think it is something on my side.
For some strange reason. So Patrick, I'm going to jump into YouTube real quick and see if I can hear you over here. Patrick, anything? Okay, so Patrick, I've got YouTube open now, and maybe I can hear you. Patrick, anything? Okay. Okay, so we'll just go back and we'll get some questions in here. So if you want to jump back in, if you've had any questions for any of that, jump back in for me and let me know. Okay. All right. I also said I was going to show you the rubric. So I'm going to jump back in so that you can see what that rubric looks like. All right. So I'm just going to go ahead and create a new assignment again real quick. Okay, and this is a good review too. So you're going to create your Google assignment just like always, and make sure the submission type is set to external tool, and go ahead and find that Google Assignments LTI. Okay, so if I'm going to create my own rubric this time, I'll click on Create Rubric. And then I'll name what it is. So like if I'm looking for grammar, I can put grammar in here and then give a description if I'm looking to do that. The number of points for my different levels. So let's say I'm doing maybe excellent, and then a description for what excellent looks like for grammar. So I would go ahead and add that description in and then add in my next column. So maybe if I'm doing 2 points, add in like good and give the description for that and so on. So I can have all of my point systems set up and those different levels for students and the description for what falls under grammar. And I'm just going to delete that level real quick. And then I can go on and add, oops. I can go on and add more criterion down here at the bottom, although right now it's not letting me do that. I did this earlier today and there's a little button down here that my screen is not allowing me to view right now. So I can't click to add in that new criterion. However, I can duplicate criterion as well. So I can show you at least how to get down to that next one. If I wanted to duplicate something, if I have criterion that is very similar and I just need to change up a few things, I can do that and add it in. But there is a button down here where you can add new criterion in as well. So then you could save that and then it would be added to that assignment. And I think I mentioned earlier that if you have a department teammate that you want to share a rubric with, clicking up here in the 3 dots, if you go to export to Sheets, you can export that rubric out to Google Sheets. And then when you're creating the rubric, you could just go in and add in that rubric and import using Sheets. Now, I will say Google Assignments is a little finicky. So like right now, I got out of that rubric. So I may have issues later on with that rubric being attached to that assignment. I know when I was testing this out and when several of my other colleagues were testing this out, if somebody came in while we were doing it and we had to answer a question and go back and figure out where we were, we often broke the link, as you kind of call it, on the teacher side. So when we went to view it as a student, sometimes there wasn't a file there to view or students weren't able to open it. And I know one of the things that we've seen on the student side is sometimes when they go to click on the link, it says that there's an error, but there's a little button next to the side that shows where they can click to make a new copy. So students can still go in and get a copy of that assignment as well.
Darcy, can you hear me by any chance?
Yeah, Patrick, I still can't hear you. I don't know what it is that I'm not able to do that, but actually, well, can you try one more time? Let me see if I can hear you again.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Okay.
I'm back.
So it was casting when I casted it to the TV. That's what the problem is. And I muted the TV.
Even tech people have fun every now and again.
Yep.
So one of the questions that came in was, they said in your first example, you had a 5th tab, I'm assuming in Canvas, that for submission that was Google. How did they get that tab? Our students don't have that choice.
Okay, let me go back and look at that. I think it was this one. All right, let me share my screen again for that. So I think it was this one, or maybe it was on the student side. Let me jump back over there. So I'm thinking it's maybe the Google Doc or the Google Drive one. I'm not sure if we can get more clarification on that one.
I'm not sure if Susan, if you're still watching, if you can clarify. I know it was early on. It was within the first 10 minutes. So it would have been one of the first things that you showed.
Okay. It might be that Google Doc one. And I know that one has confused me too. I'm not quite sure why that one keeps jumping in. Studio is something that we just got. So I'm not even sure about it because we got it like 3 days ago. So that's one that I'm still learning about too.
Susan said you are in the right place. That Google Doc one is one she was talking about. She said her students don't see that tab.
And I'm not quite sure why we did, because I know we didn't used to see that. So I'm not sure where that Google Doc tab came from. But I know when I'm talking about Google Assignments, I'm talking about this one, that Google Drive LTI 1.31.
So it probably would be good if Susan could check with her Canvas admin to see if that's maybe an add-on or a connection you guys have made.
Yes, that could be. And I could check with our back end too, who does a lot of the back end stuff of our Canvas, and see if that's something newer that we got. And I think we've talked about this before, and both of us were kind of confused as to why that tab just all of a sudden appeared.
So Susan, if you can, reach out to us on Twitter, and we'll try and connect up and get you an answer on that as well.
Absolutely.
Another question that we had was, let's see. We have noticed several errors with this, but still really like it. How do you troubleshoot if a student doesn't get the attachment?
So I mentioned that a little bit, that if the student goes in and clicks the link and it gets an error with the link, they can, there should be another button right next to the link where they can make a new copy. However, we've also seen it where it's broken on the teacher side. And the only thing that we've been able to do is redo the assignment from scratch. So delete that assignment, redo it again. And that's in the case if like every kid isn't getting this assignment, that you're seeing that no one is able to get in there, or there just isn't a link attached. It got broken on the teacher end as they were setting it up. They might have gone in to try to find something and jumped out of a window to copy and paste something in. And we've noticed that can happen, that if you're kind of going back and forth between a few windows, sometimes the system gets a little confused as to where you want it to go, and then it ends up like breaking that link.
And Karen jumped in there too and said she's seen it broken on that side as well, and asked about is it normally a good place to kind of direct them to the Google Drive folder where that copy should lie as well?
There is, yes, you could do it in the Google Drive folder as well. I know I've been a little leery about having our teachers go into that, but that is actually a good point to bring up. So when students, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing again so people can see me talk. When students submit that file, it creates a Google Assignments or just an assignments folder in Google Drive, and it drops a folder with your course name in it, and then all of the files that students are working on, it drops that in there. And then when you go in to give feedback, it creates a copy of that file and goes in there. We actually had some teachers who went in and started deleting stuff, not realizing that that was tied in with the Canvas and the Google Assignments. So I recommend not really like messing too much with it. But if you do have a student where, something gets deleted or you can't find something, you might be able to go in there and pull like a copy of it so a student can then submit from there and use that, definitely. And I should mention with the rubrics as well, once you export a rubric, if you're going to share the rubrics, it creates a folder of all of those with all of those rubrics in them. And then you share the folder with another teacher who can then pull in the rubrics from that folder.
Great, thank you. And to anybody viewing live currently, does anybody have any other questions for Darcy or even about Unison EDU? I don't see anything else coming in. So Darcy, if you have anything else to share, go ahead.
Okay. Let me just share my screen real quick and just show you, or actually if we can share out that link for the resources.
I can do that. Yep, I will. It is in the chat in YouTube if anybody wants to scroll up. And I will also broadcast it here on the screen for you as well.
Okay. So I have lots of additional resources. I have all of the directions for everything that I went over in the session, the 3 different ways that you can integrate Google assignments. All of that is in there with some tutorial videos as well. And then Google and Canvas did some webinars initially on this. So there's 3 or 4 different webinars that they did. So all of those are in there as well, so that you can also use those to go back and find out even more information as well.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. I know Clark, as far as my division, hasn't kind of dived deeply into Canvas yet, but I know that integration would be something awesome for our teachers because we are G Suite. So having something that would bridge that gap in classroom where they would have been coming from into Canvas would be a nice kind of lifeline to help make that a little easier.
Yeah, definitely. And I know I think so many school districts where we had, they were using several different things and coming from that Google Classroom environment now into Canvas, having something that is a little bit more familiar for them is definitely going to be a lot easier too.
I would agree. So I'll put it up one more time. We are both team members at unisonedu.org, and I want to do another big shout out and thank you to Darcy for an amazing session for us tonight. And as always, if you have questions, please reach out. Our Twitter handles are both on the screen for you. Reach out anytime. We are both connected, and I know my significant other at least thinks I'm connected far too often. So if you send a line, I will definitely get it.
Yes, definitely. Please reach out if you have any questions.
Thank you, guys. And since it is evening for us here, have a great night and have a great day tomorrow. Thank you.
Bye.